Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
That was a little louder than I thought. One of my favorite things to do is to stand up here just as Erev Rosh Hashanah begins. I'd like to stand here and look out and see who is here and if people are sitting in their regular spots. And then I'll look over at the cantor and we'll hesitate. Should we start? Or should we let people take another minute to greet each other? Usually this room is so noisy you can barely hear me as I finally try to quiet everyone, and it's only with threats of making my sermon twice as long that people will finally settle down. But I want you to know this. Even though the only people who will be in this room with us during our services are the people participating in the service, you are all with us. Just prior to the service, when Cantor and I put on our talitot, and we pray that we might pray properly on behalf of our community, we do so because we feel the weight of our congregation sitting on our shoulders. And when we stand before the ark, we feel a connection with each of you and our obligations to you to pray in such a way that you might feel that you are in this room with us as well. Because on this holy day, it does not matter where we are, it matters what we are doing. And each of us, along with Jewish communities throughout the world, some in person and many others online, are all doing the same thing. We're gathering in whatever ways we can to celebrate the new year. Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt wrote a sonnet for our second COVID Rosh Hashanah. She wrote, "Here's the thing. The year begins anew, even in the worst of times. The leaves will turn and fall, and then they'll grow again. And sometimes we're afraid, and we can't know what choice to make to keep anyone safe. Uncertainty is a bear. All we can do is seek out sweetness everywhere we may, and work to fix what brokenness we find. The good news is that we're not in this alone. We'll help each other hope when light seems dim, and lift the sparks that darker days reveal. We'll love each other fiercely. In the end, there is no greater work that we can do. We who survive will help each other heal. And the way that we help each other heal is knowing who is in our community. So if you are online, don't be shy tonight about wishing each other a Shana Tova and letting us know who is there. And if you're in the room with us, don't be shy about saying hello to each other and introducing yourselves to people that you may not know. And as we usher in this new year, let's bring a little bit more light into the world. It is my pleasure to invite up my husband, Glenn, and my children, Ezra and Avi, to help us light the festival candles with a reading beginning on page 10.
Creation's brightest light, the mystics say, was hidden at the dawn of time. But on this sacred night, the night of hope and joy, a glimmer of that light is here. And candles flame in children's eyes, and eyes aglow with wisdom's light. It shines in the faces of the ones we love, in grateful hearts and tears of loss. It lives in memories of goodness, in our own desire to do right. To try again, to build anew, to ask forgiveness and make peace. We enter this new year and look upon the beauty of these lights. So many the days of awe renew the light within us.
All the stars are hidden and the moon is dark tonight. In the wide expanse of heaven, north to south, not a ray of light. Light a bright candle in my heart's shadowed tent, and through the wide expanse of heaven, the light will shine.
Where there is sadness, let us offer love. Where there is fear, let us reach for hope. On this eve of the new year, may we bring light to one another.
Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu mitzvotav, v'ravayanu adlikner shalom tov. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu
V'kiyamanu, v'hegianu, lazman hazeh. Amen.
To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven.
This is the season of the soul, a time to rejoice, a time to reflect, a time to return.
A time to gather around the table with loved ones and friends, a time for song and silence, for prayer and confession to open the heart, a time to retreat to our sanctuaries within, a time to renew the life and spirit of our community.
This is the season of attentiveness, a time to notice what has unfolded and what has not, a time to regret, a time to forgive, a time to remember cherished dreams and high ideals erased by reality.
This is the season of hope, like mist rising at sunset, like dew descending at dawn. Our hopes beautify and nourish everything they touch. Our hopes make us partners in creation, pursuers of peace, people who aspire to a world of justice.
This is the season of awe. When our eyes behold it, may we feel blessed. When we turn toward each other, let us feel strength. When we seek the holy, may we find purpose, may we find courage, may we find love.
Please rise.
הנני העני ממעש ונרעשת ונפחדת מפחד יושב תהילות ישראל.
I am here. I am here. I stand before the open ark and the eternal scrolls of our people dressed in white light. I stand ready to enter into the holy days, to offer prayers that urge me to live better, kinder, ever present to the pain of others, to become a compassionate vessel, trustworthy, holding hope in the midst of despair. Hineni, I am here. I am here. I stand on the edge between earth and heaven, between what I know and what I can never understand, between life and life everlasting. Mortality hovers, a rippling presence always there, lingering, waiting, holding. I am here. Hineni, I am here. I stand resilient, determined, though I have been taken down, forced to live a different way.
ואל יקמו בפשעי ואל אבושם וקבל תפילתי כי תפילת זקן ורגיל ופרקו נאה וקולו נעים ומעורב בדעת עם הבריות.
The rhythm of life has been altered. Time unfolds and morphs, expands and stands still. I have been called to be present, to pay attention. What have I learned? What have I done with the time I have been given? Glorious time of never-ending possibility? Have I squandered the beauty, the radiance of life, an offering to my inner being? Who am I? Where have I gone astray? Am I worthy to pray with my people? May I be worthy to pray with my people. Hear my plea, grant me the faith, courage, and wisdom to enter into Cheshbon HaNefesh, the fragility and humility of self-examination. Hineni, I am here. I am here. May this fractured heart softened and hold love and compassion in a way it has never before. Hineni, I am here.
Baruch atah שומע תפילה.
We continue on page 19.
אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואימותינו, יהי רצון שנזכה לברכותיך בשנת 5782, תשפ"ב. אלוהי עולם, ברך אותנו ואת כל בית ישראל בחידוש ימינו בשמחה ובשלום, בנחמה ובאומץ לב, בחילוץ עצמות וברוח איתנה. יהי פרי שפתנו מקובל ורצוי מלפניך בפרוס השנה החדשה. לעד מודים ומודות אנחנו לך על מתנת החיים.
O God and God of our ancestors, may we know your blessings in the year 5782. Eternal One, bless us and the whole house of Israel with renewed life, happiness, and peace, comfort and courage, resilience and strength. May the words of our heart be acceptable to you in the new year that stretches before us. We are forever grateful for the gift of life. Please rise.
Baruch atah Adonai, shomea kol teruah, amo Yisrael berachamim. Blessed are you in our lives, Adonai. You hear with love the shofar, true voice of your people Israel. Tekiah.
May the blast of the shofar open the gates of heaven to all of our prayers. We continue on page 20.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
We continue praying privately on page 23 and page 25.
continue on page 28.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אמן.
We continue on page 34 with the Michamocha, a song of redemption.
מי כמוך באלים, אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים. זה אלי אנו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Cantor Steinberg.
Yes, Rabbi Alfie.
8 weeks ago, this is not how we expected to celebrate. And in those last 8 weeks, almost every day we have had conversations about how to keep people safe, how to keep people connected. And you know what would have been really lovely?
What's that?
If I had had someone every day to guide my steps. And luckily,
Well played.
because of the faith that we believe in, we did.
Yes.
Our steps were guided by keeping everyone else's well-being at the centermost of our thoughts and our vision. And so I'd like to invite Michael Herscher to join us on the bima as we pray the Hashkivenu. And we thank God that God is here to guide our steps each and every day.
O guide
guide my steps, and help me find my way. I need your shelter now. Rock me in your arms and guide my steps, and help me make this day a song of praise to you. Rock me in your arms and guide my steps. Oh, guide my steps, and help me find my way. I need your shelter now. Rock me in your arms, guide my steps, and help me make this day a song of praise to you. Rock me in your arms, oh, guide my steps, and help me find my way. I need your shelter now. Rock me in your arms and guide my steps, and help me make this day a song of praise to you. Rock me in your arms and guide my steps. Rock me in your arms and guide my steps.
We continue on page 74. Avinu Malkeinu, strong was the faith of generations before us in exile. They proclaimed enduring hope. In the shadow of persecution, they affirmed a transcendent love and compassion. Ours is a different age, less confident and certain, more tentative in its trust. There are many who say to the works of their hands, "You are our gods." But when our worship centers on our own creations, we feel less gratitude, more doubt, and despair. This is the paradox of our spiritual lives. We grow smaller in self-exaltation, nobler when we reach for you. On this night of return, let us find the humility to come close to you and open ourselves to your presence. For you are absent only when we fail to make room for you in our hearts, distant only when we turn away from you. Now, as others have done before us, let us overcome doubt and speak these words of affirmation. We call you Avinu. As loving parent, forgive our wrongs and failings. Accept us in our human frailty. We call you Malkeinu. As sovereign of our souls, help us rise from our brokenness to build a world of shalom. To this vision, we offer ourselves anew. Please rise as we continue on page 76.
אבינו מלכנו, אין לנו מלך אלא אתה.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, you alone are our sovereign.
אבינו מלכנו, למענך רחם עלינו.
Avinu Malkeinu, for your sake, show us mercy.
אבינו מלכנו, עשה עמנו למען שמך.
Avinu Malkeinu, act toward us as befits your name.
אבינו מלכנו, שלח רפואה שלמה לחולי עמך.
Avinu Malkeinu, bring healing and wholeness to the ill among us.
אבינו מלכנו, קרא רוע גזר דיננו.
Avinu Malkeinu, allay the harshness of the decree against us.
אבינו מלכנו, כותבנו בספר גאולה וישועה.
Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of redemption and renewal.
אבינו מלכנו, זוכרנו בזיכרון טוב לפניך.
Avinu Malkeinu, remember our goodness and call it to mind.
אבינו מלכנו, עשה למענך והושיענו.
Avinu Malkeinu, act for your sake and save us.
אבינו מלכנו, שמע קולנו.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, hear our voice.
אבינו מלכנו, חטאנו לפניך.
Avinu Malkeinu, we have strayed and sinned before you.
אבינו מלכנו, חמול עלינו ועל עוללינו וטפנו.
Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and our families.
אבינו מלכנו, כלה דבר וחרב ורעב מעלינו.
Avinu Malkeinu, the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger.
אבינו מלכנו, כלה כל צער ומסטין מעלינו.
Avinu Malkeinu, halt the reign of those who cause pain and terror.
אבינו מלכנו, כותבנו בספר חיים טובים.
Avinu Malkeinu, enter our names in the book of lives well lived.
אבינו מלכנו, חדש עלינו שנה טובה.
Avinu Malkeinu, renew for us a year of goodness.
אבינו מלכנו, חוננו ועננו, כי אין בנו מעשים. עשה עמנו צדקה וחסד והושיענו.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, answer us with grace, for our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love. Shana Tova. I recently read about a Jewish artist down in Malibu who invited 20 people to join her in a project she calls Dig a Hole to Put Your Wreath In. It's the artist's response to the communal traumas of the last year and a half: COVID-19, police brutality, the existential threat of climate change, and on and on. It's a week-long project to dig a hole with a 7-foot wide diameter to, as she says, create a cavity that could contain the depth of their grief. She said that she was inspired by the act of sitting Shiva and the Jewish mourning process. She was drawn to the idea in Judaism that the person who is doing the grieving is supported by the entire community, and that they are not expected to go through the experience by themselves. And while what she is doing is interesting, it just touches on the surface of the beginning part of the healing process, because Shiva is just the first step. The Jewish calendar provides space for us to revisit our losses and our grief over and over again. We begin with Shiva, but then we have Yizkor 4 times during the year, where during the major holidays we take time to remember who is no longer celebrating with us. And then, of course, we mark a full day every year where we remember the yurtzeit for the person whom we have lost. Throughout the calendar year, every year, multiple times during the year, we circle around back to that place where we feel vulnerable. We revisit again and again our most tender emotions until it becomes memorialized on our own emotional calendar. Why do we do this? Because simply bearing those feelings won't help us to get past them. Sitting with them, again and again, trying to find meaning from them, learning how to live with them, and even taking our worst pain out to look at on an annual basis. This is what Judaism teaches us to do. This is how we survive our sorrow, our disappointments, and our grief. And it's more than that, because by allowing ourselves to wrestle with what has hurt us, this is how we grow, how we find meaning from our pain, and eventually we learn to live more fully than we did before. And this is true not only for the pain of losing someone we love, but also from the pain of losing part of who we are or who we once were. Over the last decade or so, I found that I had a compulsive desire to return again and again to my hometown, both in my imagination and in real life. Like the swallows returning to Capistrano, I had an uncontrollable urge to walk in my childhood footsteps and to revisit the world that I once lived in. I thought it was strange at first, because my childhood was profoundly chaotic and unhappy. I couldn't wait to move away. I was literally on a flight out of town within 12 hours of graduating high school. And yet here I am, living the life that I could only dream of as a child, and I kept finding myself wanting to revisit the place and the time in my life where I had been the most unhappy. The first few years when I would make the pilgrimage back home, I would find myself overwhelmed by emotions. While walking down the street, tears would suddenly stream down my face, and I would feel the urge to run away again. And then the following year, I'd find myself wanting to return. And each year after that, and every time I did, my emotions would flood me once again, but less than they had the year before, until this last summer, when I experienced something unexpected when I was there. It was, at long last, a sense of calm, a sense of actually feeling renewed and refreshed, and finally at peace. And I realized maybe that was what I had been looking for all along. Not just resolution, but understanding where my starting point was so that I could keep moving forward now. I discovered that my childhood wasn't as unhappy or as horrible as I once thought. Now, don't get me wrong, it was really not an ideal childhood. But I have also come to realize that mixed in with all of the painful memories are many beautiful ones as well. Priceless memories of getting into mischief with my siblings, beautiful Shabbat dinners, memories of teachers whose wisdom continued to guide me, and friendships that I treasure to this day. I have finally come to not only accept, but also to embrace the idea that I could only be who I am now because of the life that I lived then, for good and for bad, It is all a part of me now. I realize that each year when I return to where I began, what I was seeking was my own personal Rosh Hashanah, a resetting of my spiritual clock, a reminder that I can always begin again, any and every time that I need to. I have learned that if I'm willing to go back to my starting line, but with the wisdom that I have accrued over my lifetime, then giving myself the gift of starting over is something that I could look forward to and not dread. Teshuvah is the psychological and spiritual act of returning to your own personal starting place, of being willing to start again, not to start from scratch, but to have a new start. Teshuvah is like drawing that card in Monopoly that says, advance to go, collect $200. Teshuvah gives you the chance not only to keep playing the game, but also with a little something extra, just not in your wallet, it's in your soul. The high holidays remind us that life is not meant to be lived passively, but we must take responsibility for our choices, our actions, and our reactions. It reminds us to keep an eye on the big picture even as we take responsibility for the day-to-day details. It reminds us to never be afraid to start again. Each time we do, we're not starting in exactly the same spiritual place because we're not the same people that we were even just a year ago. Even if we're not sure what path to take this year, we at least know we don't want to travel down the road we took last year, and that there are always new paths forward to explore. Time in Judaism is not linear. It is circular. Each day spirals around the sun and the moon, and 7 days spiral into a week, and the highest part of the spiral is Shabbat. And around we go through the seasons, each year circling back to where we were, but from a higher place than where we stood the year before, so that each Rosh Hashanah, when we find ourselves back at go, it is hopefully with more wisdom, insight, and experience than we had a year ago. Even though we're standing in the same location, it is from a higher level, so that when we begin again, we have a better vantage point than we did before. The first several times I went home, I cried. But each year when I went back, it got easier, because each time I was different. I had grown. The memories I was dredging up and the questions I was asking myself every year may have been the same, but the answers that I needed were not the same, because each time I came back, I was in essence a new or newer version of myself than I had been the year before. And this is what Teshuvah does. It gives us permission to begin. It's part of the reason we come into this space every Rosh Hashanah and why it is so powerful when we stand here. We know that we're starting this journey again, but when we gather here, we also know that we're not alone on this journey. There are others who will be by our sides. And we stand in this sacred place and time where generations have stood before us. And together, we just take a deep breath and begin all over again.
We have come from near and far to raise our voice in song, and the more we join in the refrain, the more we feel strong. Chazak, Chazak, Venit,
It is my pleasure to invite the president of our congregation, Josh Mastronardi, to please offer some New Year's greetings.
Shana Tova. I've been told to keep this to about an hour, so here we go. And I realize that would have worked a lot better with a captive audience that couldn't just fast forward or walk away. I thought I'd be nervous and awkward coming up here, but now that I'm here, that's pretty much the case. So at least something this year is going according to plan. I'm humbled and honored to begin my term as president of Congregation B'nai Israel, and grateful to be part of such a supportive community, including our great board of trustees, our wonderful staff, our exceptional clergy, and most importantly, this amazing congregation. When I started thinking about what to say tonight, I was imagining it might be about tough times, disappointments, plans we had to change, places we couldn't go, and things we couldn't do. But I found myself instead feeling inspired by how people responded to those challenges, changes, and needs. And I realized that while a lot stands out from the past year and a half, it's really part of the long-time culture and community that attracted my family to B'nai Israel in the first place. A little background. I grew up going to a conservative synagogue, also named Congregation B'nai Israel, in Rockville, Connecticut, where my father actually served as president when I was a teenager. I even remember sitting in high holiday services as a kid, kind of letting the songs and traditions envelop me, and also kind of wishing there was a way to take in services while being at home on the couch. Because unlike here, the wooden pews and metal chairs were really, really hard. Little did I know. Fast forward to Sacramento. While I went to high holiday services at various synagogues regularly, one could even say religiously, we were unaffiliated for a while. But then we started coming to B'nai Israel's high holiday services and meeting some of the people, and bringing my children to the family services, where they got a wonderful, immersive introduction to the meaning of each holiday that even taught me some new things. And they begged to come back, which is not something I remember doing as a kid. At that point, the decision to join here became obvious. The reasons were wide-ranging, from the mix of traditional and familiar prayer and liturgy to the strong religious school programs, the support for interfaith families like ours, the wide variety of activities, organizations, and opportunities to participate, along with the community of people that made it all work. This was the place we wanted our children to learn, grow, participate, have their bar bat mitzvahs. As I got involved in things as diverse as helping to build the sukkah, or painting the lines in the parking lot, to cooking with the Brotherhood in the kitchen, to being a part of 2 B'nai Mitzvah class families, I could see how many people gave their time and, as importantly, their ideas and passions to make this community a great place. So in retrospect, it's no surprise that when the pandemic hit, so many in this community stood up and said, to quote the rabbi, and actually the cantor tonight, Hineni. I was inspired by how quickly Rabbi Alfie, Cantor Steinberg, and so many on the staff got together to develop a new way to hold services. I was inspired when the membership committee saw the onegs we couldn't gather for and took it upon themselves to create an interactive way to let people meet after services online. I was inspired by the Board of Trustees, who came together under our past president, Greg Hubb's leadership, to respond, make adjustments, and make hard decisions. There was a strong focus on fiscal responsibility when it really wasn't known what the future would look like. Our executive director and the whole staff did an amazing job identifying and following through on cost-cutting measures. And at the same time, there was planning for and authorizing significant technology upgrades so that we could stream and interact together. I'm inspired by our B'nai Mitzvah students and their families, who embraced an unheard of at the time way to pray, celebrate, and gather their families, friends, and congregation on Zoom. And while I'm sure there have been frustrations and disappointments along the way, they've graciously adapted and made the ever-changing guidelines work. I'm inspired by our youth and the all-out work to make things happen for them. Under our outgoing education director's leadership, Religious School balanced tough decisions all year long while running a great distance learning program. The education team figured out how to safely run Camp Shalanu in person this summer. And our kids didn't just go there. B'nai Israel had the highest percentage of kids at Camp Newman from any synagogue this year, and that was with all the special protocols and quarantines that were required to attend. I'm inspired by all the committees and organizations who creatively adapted, including the Women of B'nai Israel and Brotherhood, finding ways to interact, from virtual museum tours to at-home beer tasting. I'm inspired by how we focus on the wider community. We partnered with the YMCA, who needed space to safely run a child care center for essential workers, so that despite our absence from our classrooms, they were being used for a noble purpose. Our social action and racial justice committees developed new ways to engage, like the Movement for Black Lives discussions that several organizations helped hold last summer. And Camp Nefesh, which was founded to provide a safe, fun space for refugee children in our community to learn, play, grow, and meet new friends, was quickly pivoted to get equipment to run virtually the past 2 summers. I'm inspired by all the members of the congregation who continued to participate, to support the synagogue, and to get involved, and who aren't afraid to give feedback, whether it's to let us know that we're making the right choice with a decision, or to say they think we're making a wrong choice, and here's why. I know some of you have been coming to this sanctuary for decades and greatly miss sitting in these chairs surrounded by family and friends. And some of you joined in the last 18 months, perhaps never having been in the sanctuary, yet you have still made this your spiritual home. I look forward to the day soon when all of us can be back here to pray, and back there to socialize and, well, to eat. This is just a sampling of inspirations. There are so many more, but I have to stop now, or we will bump up against that hour. The coming year presents us with a number of opportunities and challenges. Welcoming everyone back into our building, sanctuary, and classroom safely is a top priority, but as we learned while we all had to be away, there's incredible value in continuing to make our services and activities accessible to those who can't come on site on any given day. This requires more planning, staffing, and investment in technologies to make hybrid activities seamless and effective while capturing the traditions and in-person camaraderie that we love. Continuing and enhancing our rich and vibrant religious school is another top priority. We are blessed to have Rabbi Galit Cohen-Kedem with us this year to lead our education programs, while knowing that we have to give her back to her congregation in Israel next year and embarking on a search for our new educator. And as our congregation continues to grow, we need to grow our staff, equipment, and keep our facilities in shape. This leads me to talk a bit about the gift of tzedakah. As you may know, in the last few years, instead of having multiple appeals for donations throughout the year, including a high holiday appeal, the gift of tzedakah consolidates those into one primary donation that we ask everyone to consider making at their level of comfort. Beyond membership commitments, CBI relies on philanthropic gifts to fund our annual operations. Gift of tzedakah donations are used to fund and supplement a wide variety of congregational activities, from religious and adult education to facility upgrades, to staffing needs for all the high quality programming throughout the year. One of the things we pride ourselves on is that our community serves a huge diversity of needs and interests, and Gift of Tzedakah helps us do this effectively so we can continue to be the inclusive, welcoming, and connected place we've always been. Last year, among other needs, the Gift of Tzedakah supported upgrading the video streaming and networking infrastructure. It went towards scholarships to ensure every CBI family can have their children engaged in a Jewish education, to staffing a Kesher program, keeping high school students engaged and connected to each other and to Judaism, and to keeping our synagogue home ready and safe for our return. So that was a very long way to say that I'm not making a high holiday appeal, but the high holidays are a great time to make your Gift of Tzedakah pledge. I was going to say, please don't get on your phones in the middle of services, and I'll still say that even though the rabbi and cantor can't see you. But after Yontif, you can go to the CBI website's Gift of Tzedakah page and make your pledge. We know that you're asked to support many different organizations throughout the year, and just ask that you consider supporting CBI to ensure the continued vibrancy of our community. As we close out the year 5781 and dive into 5782, I'd like you to think about the things that have inspired you recently and in years past, and help us continue and expand on those. Read the Hadashot and consider finding a new thing that you haven't checked out, and try it out. If you're part of a group, organization, or program, reach out to someone that you know who might be interested in joining. This time has taught us how important it is to embrace and expand our community to support and grow with each other. L'shana tova tuka. Have a good and sweet year. And I don't have any, I'm going to skip most of the announcements because I hear they're going to be running in a nice video format after services. Just to say, please check out the Hadashot, and the website has all the schedule for everything. And there were 2 reminders. Those coming to Tashlich tomorrow, please do not bring breadcrumbs or duck food or anything like that. There will be gravel for you to use. We want to keep all the animals safe. And a note that for all the outdoor activities, including family services and Tashlich, masks are required even though it is outdoors. Thank you.
Yasher Koach. Thank you, Josh. We continue now with our concluding prayers beginning on page 86.
A sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey from childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength or strength to weakness, and often back again, from health to sickness, and back, we pray, to health again.
From offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination. But life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage made stage by stage, from birth to death to life everlasting.
Our thoughts turn to loved ones who are no longer with us, and we extend our condolences in particular to those who've lost a loved one in the last 30 days. And it is with sadness that we announce the recent passing of David Guernica, the beloved father of Jenny Guernica, beloved father-in-law of Matthew Silver, and beloved grandfather of Julian Silver. It is also with sadness that we announce the passing of Phyllis Pockrass, the beloved mother of Radine Citronbaum and Suzanne Dodge, and beloved mother-in-law to David and to Warren, and a beloved grandmother of Anne and Amanda Citronbaum and Megan and Ellen Dodge. Phyllis was also the beloved cousin of Estelle Opper and others in our congregation. It is also with sadness that we recall the recent passing of Mervyn Fawn, the beloved brother of our member Claire Merksimer. Zichronam livracha, may all of their memories forever be a blessing. If there are names of loved ones that you would like us to remember tonight, please feel free to write those names in the chat. And for those who are with us this evening, I also invite you to please feel free to say the names of your loved ones whom you're saying Kaddish for aloud as well. We rise in memory of all of our loved ones who have passed as we continue together with the Mourner's Kaddish on page 90. Yit Gadal v'yit Gadash Shemei Rabbah Be'alma Divrach Hirutei v'yamlich Malchutei V'chai Yechon V'yom Echon V'chayei Zechol Beit Yisrael Ba'agala U'bizman Kari v'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevarach Le'olam Umei Almaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitolal shmei tekudsha b'richu le'ela ul'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Osei shalom b'marmav Hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say, Amen. We continue with the festival Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol am. V'romamanu mikol lashon, v'kidishanu b'mitzvotav. V'titen lanu Adonai Eloheinu be'ava et hazikaron hazeh yom teruah mikra kodesh zeker litziat Mitzrayim. Ki vanu vakarta ve'otanu kidashta mikol amin. Ki vanu vakarta ve'otanu kidashta Ki vanu vakarta ve'otanu kidashta Ki vanu vakarta ve'otanu kidashta mikol amin udevarka emet v'kayam load Baruch atah Adonai melech kol haaretz mekadesh Yisrael ve'yom hazikaron. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Amen.
L'chaim. We continue on page 98 with a blessing for the new year. Oh, wait, no? Oh, you're right. It's not just a new year for the world. There's someone who's not quite as old as the world.
Not chronologically.
Not chronologically.
Yeah. But Contains a lot of the same wisdom.
An old soul.
An old
I would say a
soul.
very old soul. Mr. Hersher. You have given of yourself unbelievably. Oh. Mr. Hersher. Since this pandemic began, you have stepped forward and you have said Hineni every single Shabbat. Coming, I think he missed less services than either you or I did, Cantor, since the pandemic began. And you have been a blessing to our congregation. And so we are delighted to celebrate your birthday alongside Rosh Hashanah. And we pray that we will be celebrating your birthday for many decades to come. Cantor, would you like to sing a little Yom Huledet Sameach?
I have been waiting for this all year. Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach. Ad 120.
For those who didn't hear, the cantor said, may you be like Moses and live to 120 and sing with us every Shabbat. Now we continue with a blessing for the new year.
Yes.
Page 98. Our God and God of all generations before us, may it be your will in the coming year to grant us a year of abundance and atonement.
A year of blessings bestowed and received.
We're still figuring out the mic. A year of community and compassion.
A year of delight and exaltation.
A year of enlightenment.
A year of friendship and forgiveness.
A year of going up in gladness to the land of Israel.
A year of health and healing and humor.
A year of inner strength and well-being.
A year of joy and Jewish celebration.
A year of knowledge and learning for its own sake.
A year of love between parents and children, friends and spouses, brothers and sisters.
A year of mitzvot and moments of sweetness.
A year of nature protected and enjoyed.
A year of optimism and hope.
A year of peace pursued with perseverance.
A year of quiet and tranquility.
A year of rain in its season.
I think that needs to be repeated.
A year of rain in its season.
A year of song and spiritual growth.
A year of Torah study and tikkun olam.
A year of understanding and unity.
A year of vows fulfilled and violence overcome.
A year of wisdom acquired and shared.
A year of coexistence among the families of the earth.
A year of young and old reaching out to one another.
A year of Zion aglow with light for us and all the world.
Together, our God and God of the generations before us, grant us a year of gratitude to you for the most profound of blessings, your gift of life.
Yehi ratzon milfanecha, Adonai Eloheinu, ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, shetechadesh alenu shana tova umetuka.
Together, our God and God of our ancestors, eternal God of all generations, may your presence in our lives this new year renew our spirits and renew our strength. May it be a good year. May it be a sweet year. L'shana tova tikatevu v'techatemu. May you be inscribed and sealed for a good year. Our concluding song could be found on page 94, Adon Olam, Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.